Hello, YouTube. This is Jay Coder back with another stream. And today we're going to be going over preparing for the Associate Android Developer Certification exam using AI. So, today I have planned we're going to be talking with Chatgpt and also Google Bard about concepts regarding this exam. And if you like this kind of content, subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment, and I'm gonna, without further ado, I'm gonna get started here with talking with the AI and let's see what we can get out of it. And this preparing for the exam video might be a series, but I want to do this today so that you guys can see like how you can use ChatGPT, Google Bard, generative AI to help you study for exams like this. So this is good for Android developers that want to put this on their resume, things like that. So what I said here is I already made a session for both ChatGPT and Google Bard. And so the first question I asked was, are you aware of the Associate Android Developer Certification exam? And it says, yes, I'm aware of the Associate Android Developer Certification exam. It is an exam offered by Google that assesses the skills and knowledge of individuals who want to demonstrate their proficiency in Android app development. The exam is designed to validate a developer's competence in building Android applications and typically covers a range of topics including Android platform, user interface design, data storage, and app testing. It's a valuable credential for those looking to establish their expertise as Android developers and can be beneficial for the career advancement in the field of mobile app development. Keep in mind that the details and requirements of the exam may change over time, so it's a good idea to visit the official Google certification website for the most up to date information. And yeah, as these AIs change, the information may be updated on them later. Maybe or maybe not. It's kind of new here to see like what information the AI will be updated on, but they are pretty quite knowledgeable as of now. And once they are able to access the internet more and more, too, then they will only improve. And so I also want to do go over the Google Bard because Google Bard is more closely a more closely aligned thing with Android development because Android is pretty much headed by Google and Bard is a part of Google, and I would think by common sense that a Google tool would know a lot about this exam, but they're both good sources. But let's also see what Bard says about this. And so I asked Bard the same question: are you aware of the Associate Android Developer Certification exam? And it says, yes, I am aware of the Associate Android Developer Certification exam. It is a performance based exam that assesses the skills of entry level Android developers. The exam is currently being updated, but it will continue to test for the following competencies: Android Core. This includes understanding the Android lifecycle activities, views, fragments, and the Android framework. User interface. This includes creating layouts using UI widgets and handling user interactions. Data management. This includes storing and retrieving data using SQLite and other data storage mechanisms. Networking, this includes making network requests, handling responses, and implementing authentication, testing and debugging. This includes writing unit tests, using debugging tools, and identifying and fixing bugs. Android Jetpack. This includes using Jetpack Compose, Jetpack Lifecycle, and other Jetpack libraries to build modern Android apps. To prepare for the exam, Google recommends that you have at least 6 months of experience developing Android apps. You could also be familiar with the Kotlin programming. You should also be familiar with the Kotlin programming language, as the exam is conducted in Kotlin. There are a number of resources available to help you prepare for the exam, and it's the official site, online tutorials, practice exams, books, and other learning materials. The exam is available in English at this time. It also is a proctored test, which means that you will need to take it at a testing center. The exam fee is $149. I hope this information is helpful. Please let me know if you have any questions. So, Google Bard did have more specific information, such as the pricing and things like that. It didn't go into as much as ChatGPT did, but let's go back to ChatGPT and, well, yeah, I mean, it did give, actually, Bart did give probably a better answer on that, but I also asked a follow up question. Can you make me a step by step lesson plan on how to prepare for this exam? And then ChatGPT did give me an outline with bullet points here. So let's go through some of these. It was saying, so it's saying number one, understand the exam. It's suggesting it's essential to understand the structure, contents, requirements of the exam. Visit the website to gather information about it. The eligibility and specific topics that will be covered. This will help you set clear goals for your preparation. Okay, that's pretty obvious. And then it says set a study schedule, and you probably need to do this for any test that you take. Create a study schedule that suits your availability and learning style. Be realistic about the amount of time you can dedicate to each day to prepare for the exam, and a well structured schedule can help you stay on track and make steady progress. So yeah, that's a general thing you can use as a tip for any of the exams. And then this says learn Java or Kotlin. The Associate Android Developer exam allows you to choose between Java and Kotlin. I would highly suggest to learn Kotlin at this time because it's the more modern language using Android. And the Bard said it is actually going to be in Kotlin. So I would strongly suggest that you go over Kotlin. Um, and so it says for study the Android basics. Start with the fundamentals of Android app development. Learn about activities, layouts, views, and user interfaces. Online resources like the official Android developer documentation, Android courses on platforms like Udacity or Coursera, and Android development books can be helpful. So I agree with that about learning about the activities, layouts, views, and user interfaces, and also Jetpack composables as well. I would add to that. Says explore data storage. Understand how to store and manage data in Android applications. Study topics like SQLite databases, shared preferences, and data binding. Practice creating and retrieving data in your app. And there's also another uh, database retrieval um, API room that you can also learn to play around with SQLite databases. So yeah, that's a pretty good suggestion. Also, I would add room to that list. And master app architecture. Learn about Android app architecture patterns like model view controller, MVC, model view presenter, MVP, and model view model. Understand the importance of clean code and separation of concerns. I think this is also very important information as well, where you should learn like the different differences between MVC, MVP, and MVVM. And also, one thing about it is nowadays, it from my experience in Android development is more leaning towards MVVM these days. So MVVM for Android development is the most important architecture pattern that I would say that you need to learn, because this is pretty much built into kind of how Android is structured, where it uses view models to take care of brokering the data, such as it has it's responsible for updating the user interface, which the user interface should not directly access data in like a enterprise application. The view model is the one who is kind of the middleman between the data and the UI, and the model is also takes place in dealing with database information, getting data from the API, things like that, and also a view model helps to maintain the data when even if a activity is destroyed or anything like that, the data can still persist as uh, long as the app is still active. Focus on material design. Explore the principles of material design and show and and how to create visually appealing and user-friendly interfaces. Pay attention to layout design, navigation, patterns, and animations. Yeah, I say that's very good advice. Material design is closely associated with Android UI and how it looks. Practice building apps. Hands on practice is crucial. Start building simple Android apps to apply what you've learned. As you gain confidence, work on more complex projects. This will help you develop problem solving skills and gain practical experience. And yeah, that's good advice as well. Sometimes there's nothing better than just doing it yourself and getting that hands on knowledge that you need to actually apply what you have actually learned. And so the next one, study, testing, and debugging. Learn how to write unit tests and UI tests for your Android applications. Familiarize yourself with debugging tools and techniques to identify and resolve issues in your code. So that's a good one as well, which, I mean, not all studios practice uh, and companies practice testing and debugging, such as using the UI test and everything like that. But it's still a good thing to know for the exam's sake. Review and mock exams. As you approach your exam's date, review all topics you've studied. You can also find practice exams and mock tests online to assess your readiness. This can help you get a feel for the exam, eh, the format, and identity areas where you may need further review. So that's a pretty good technique as well to find mock exams if you can out there. But right now, with the Chat GPT and the generative AI, I think it can be efficient to be able to fulfill your studying needs these days, which it makes it really very easy and convenient that you don't have to go searching in a million different places just to learn the concepts that you need to know. It can, have a this is kind of like our centralized home base where it gives us the core concepts to go over, and then we can drill down and into each one of these and continue to study from there. And so, all right. And then, pretty much when you're ready, register for the exam. Once you feel confident in your knowledge and skills, register for the Associate Android Developer Certification exam through the official Google certification website. And I'll also link a link to the exam in the description once I'm done with this live stream, and so that you guys can be able to go directly to that site. And of course, the obvious: take the exam. Well, on the day of the exam, make sure you are well rested, confident. Follow the exam instructions carefully and take your time to answer each question. Don't forget to double check your work before submitting your responses. And 13, post exam review. After taking the exam, you'll receive your results. If you pass, congratulations. If not, don't be discouraged. Review your performance and identify areas where you need to improve. You can retake the exam if necessary. Remember, the preparations for the Associate Android Developer Certification exam requires dedication and constant effort. Be patient with yourself and continue to refine your skills as you work towards achieving certification. Good luck with your preparations. All right, so that kind of gave us a pretty good foundation. Some of the, suggestions were obvious. Some of the suggestions were really good. So I would, I would say that was useful. And, of course, with AI, you could, with these Chat GPT and Google Bard, you can always drill down and prompt it to go into more detail about each one of these things it has been talking about, or drill down into a specific subject to be able to learn more about that. And so I'm going to also I'm just curious. I'm going to also ask Google Bard this same question and see what it comes up with. It's can you make me a step-by-step lesson plan on how to prepare for this exam? And so I'm going to go to Google Bard. So this is Google Bard, and then I'm going to go ahead and ask it the same thing here. Can you make me a step-by-step lesson plan on how to prepare for this exam? And let's see what this one comes up with to see if, we can extract more useful information regarding what to do to prepare. And, and yeah, I mean, these are like quick and easy lesson outlines that can help us out in our preparation. So, sure, here's a step by step lesson plan on how to prepare for the Android Developer Cert exam. So it says assess your skills and knowledge. So before you start preparing, it's important to access your current skills and knowledge. This will help you identify areas where you need to focus your studies. So, suggest things like taking practice exams, which also ChatGPT suggested. If you can find some practice exams out there, go ahead. reviewing exams objectives, talking to experienced Android developers. If you can do that, then that will also help as well. Maybe you might even know someone who's already taken the exam and you can get their experience and perspective as well. Choose a learning platform. So it's just some specific platforms that you can take a look at, such as Udemy, Coursera, Udacity, Treehouse. Okay, so these are some that you can go over, and maybe they have specific courses targeting the Associate Android Developer Certification exam. And when choosing a learning platform, consider your learning style, budget, schedule, create a study schedule, which the other one also mentioned that as well. Watch tutorial videos, reading articles, practicing coding exercises, taking practice exams, which yeah, it already said that. So 4. Focus on the exam objectives. The Associate Android Developer Certification exam covers a wide range of topics. To focus your studies on topics to be covered on the exam, you can find the objectives on the Google Developer website, which I wish it would go into more specifics right here, as did Chatgpt, like the specific Android related topics that you can look into. It says join an online study group, take practice exams, which you kind of already said that, get enough sleep, hand health, which is general um, knowledge that everyone should do for any test. Don't stress out. Yes, of course. Get hands on experience by developing your own Android apps. Yep, that's pretty good advice. Contribute to open source Android projects. Okay, so that's another idea. So, that could probably help you with seeing production level code if you haven't ever been able to work on a big Android development project. You can find like a open source one to look at other people's code to kind of see, what a big app project looks like. Attend Android meetups and conferences. Of course, you can get study buddies and team up and study for the exam together, and network with other Android developers. You can do that as well. And so, all right, Google Bard, it kind of said some good suggestions, but I didn't like how it wasn't specific on some of the specific things that you can go into in Android to study. So, yeah, it's not quite as effective as what we saw in GPT, but it is still helpful. So, all right. So, I'll probably go back to Bart later. And so, what I want to do now is I'm curious to see. I'm going to respond to step 3. And so I'm going to say, I will, for step 3, for step 3, I will choose Kotlin. And since I'm choosing Kotlin, and since I am choosing Kotlin, can you give me a lesson plan on Kotlin to help me prepare for the exam. I'm going to actually be more specific so that it actually doesn't pretend like it doesn't know what exam. So I'm going to say Associate Android Developer Certification Exam. So essentially, what I'm doing is I'm trying to dig deeper into step three and drill in to more detail. And I wanted to see if it will give us more detail on what we can study in Kotlin. And so for each one of these steps, of course, you can do this for each one of these steps to drill down, even to get more detail on what to study instead of you going out and just go to other sites and learn Kotlin. Let's see what this has to tell us about it. So let me go ahead and ask and see what happens. Okay, so this is a an outline. It says, all right, so okay, so certainly, here's a lesson plan focused on learning Kotlin for your preparation for the Associate Android Developer Certification exam. So, week one. So it gives us week one what we can do. It's introduction to Kotlin, you know, control flow, functions, and object oriented programming in Kotlin. That's what OOP stands for. Functions, object oriented programming. So, okay, all right. So actually, so this is week one. So these two is just for week one, introduction and control flow. Week two, which, all right, yeah, this is the heading title for the week. So it's going to be functions in OOP. So day 1 through 3 functions, day 4 through 6 object oriented programming. And then week 3, it says collections, subcollections, and lambdas. So about 2 topics a week it suggests to go over. And then day 1 through 3 collections, day 4 through 6 lambdas in high order functions, and then it goes over week 4, introduction to quarantines. Yeah, this is good stuff. I would say so far, guys. These are all key concepts that you should know. And yeah, quarantines, they really like talking about that in the Android world, where and in programming in general, they seem to like multi-threaded techniques, and usually there's many interview questions um, on multiple different platforms on how you could handle multi-threaded programming, where it's important that you don't block the UI, because like let's say you're retrieving a lot of data on your back end, while your UI is doing animations, or the user is scrolling and things like that. If you're doing it all on the same thread, things will be very choppy. Your user interface might even completely freeze. If you're doing two, if you're doing like a background task of you know retrieving large amounts of data, and also doing UI animations, things like that at the same time, it will be a bad user experience if your AI randomly freezes or chops up, and they'll think something's wrong with the app when in actuality it's just busy trying to get the back in information. So with things like co-routines, it allows you to be able to um, you know have two threads going on at the same time where it frees up the UI to execute its task smoothly without being interrupted by the background tasks of the other thread gone and retrieving the information, whether it be like from the actual API or the database, things like that. And so yeah, quarantines, asynchronous operations. Week 5, Android specific topics, Android extensions, Android architecture components. Okay. And then it says app development and final review, Android app development. Apply your Kotlin knowledge to build a simple Android app. Explore app layout, design, and user interaction. So yeah, in week 6, it has you actually build your own app development. I mean, I'm sorry, your own Android app, a simple app, and then on day 4 to 5, review and practice. Review all the topics you've learned and work through practice exercises. Ensure you understand how to use Kotlin effectively for Android development. And then week 7, mock exams and final preparations. Take a mock exam. So you go out and find a mock exam and take it. And final review preparations. Review any weak areas and practice more to build confidence. Make sure your development environment is set up correctly for the exam. Then week 8, take certification exam, and exam day, take the AADC exam with a calm and focused mind. So yeah, I think this was an excellent lesson plan that it put together for us, and very detailed on what to do. I think this is valuable information, even for like Android uh, development teachers and those in the teacher instructors in a boot camp. They can just take this verbatim and just follow this outline. It even gives you the day by day things to go over each day. Um, One thing that I would also add to this that it doesn't really seem to mention too much is also Jetpack. Um, but Jetpack is a bit newer, and you may or may not have to know too much about it on the exact actual exam. But to kind of complete your Android development knowledge, I think Jetpack Compose learning is also pretty essential to this whole thing. So, and one last thing I'm curious about is I'm trying to, drill down to some actual code here. So, let's say, day 1, introduction to Kotlin. All right. Um, can can you make me a lesson? Can you make me a lesson right now for day 1 introduction to Kotlin? and only for that lesson only for now. So what I want to ask it is, can you make me a lesson right now for day 1 through 2, introduction to Kotlin, and only for that lesson, oh, and only for that lesson, and only for that lesson for now, because I'm gonna, hopefully it will listen to that where it will give me a lesson for that day 1 to 2 specifically, and not try to, give me anything else, because what I want to focus on is one thing at a time. So I want to focus on that day 1 to 2 for this present moment, and then I will can later ask it for more, um, to maybe go on to day 3 and 5, things like that. But for now, hopefully it will give me something for the day 1 and 2. So let's see what it does. All right, so it did do this, um, but I really wanted to also go into actual code. So, thank you for this outline, but can you rewrite rewrite this outline? This I'm gonna say this day 1 and day 2 outline with with some code examples. So basically, so thank thank you for this outline. So I'm saying thank you for the outline so that it can indicate that, yeah, it looks good and everything. But can you also rewrite this day 1 and day 2 outline with some code examples? And so, yeah, let's see what it does when we do that. Yeah, okay, that looks good because I think it's a more robust and, um, maybe even more of a robust and detailed lesson when you can actually see actual code, examples of what it's talking about. Um, you know, Possibly even interactive, because what you can do is you can copy these code examples and then you could paste them in, um, the Kotlin playground. Um, Let me see. So, is this the Kotlin playground? That look a little different. Enjoy Kotlin playground. So, so let me see. Okay, so there's two cotton playgrounds, but yeah. But anyway, you know, like I was saying, you can go ahead and copy this code and go to the Kotlin playground and go ahead and paste that in. Of course, it already had the hello world. Let's do something like this. We can go ahead and copy this, data types and variables, and then we can go ahead and paste this into the Kotlin playground, and then you can interactively playing around with this code, you can run this code here, and it should, you know, display uh, what it has here. So here we have an integer, a string, and a boolean. And so what it does is it takes the string, displays it. So this dollar sign means it's gonna display what is inside that variable. So and then it displays the age, and then it displays student is student equals true. You can change that to false, and it says student false, and he has unauthorized access because he is not a student. But yeah, so you can see, how you can make these lessons more robust, and kind of what you can type into Chatgpt and things like that to get a more in-depth teaching where sometimes you have to drill down for the details with these things. So yeah, so Kotlin basics. So I'm just gonna kind of see what it put here. So Kotlin basics objective to introduce you to the fundamentals of the Kotlin programming language. Topics to cover what is Kotlin, explain what Kotlin is and its significance in Android app development, highlight key features, setting up development environments, hello world in Kotlin. So basically, you can also like it for each response, it has a limited amount of what it can display. So that's also why you have to drill down as well. Like, if you wanted to drill down even more, you can tell it, please go ahead and do a detailed explanation for one, what is Kotlin, and then it will go into that. Actually, let's let me go ahead and do that right now just to kind of demonstrate, and hopefully it will do what we want. But let me just look at these real quick too. Setting up development environments, hello world, Kotlin, data types and variables, activities, install Android Studio if you haven't already, and then homework suggestions, practice writing Kotlin programs that involve basic data types and variables. And then it has, the day two stuff, control flow, the if statements, the when expression, the loops, and the talks about activities, write Kotlin code to solve simple conditional problems using if and else. Create a program that involves multiple conditional statements and loops in Kotlin. Try to find and solve real world problems using control flow constructs. All right, so let me drill down even further and say, um, can you go ahead and answer, or go ahead and give an a detailed explanation for the bullet points under what or under this under actually actually explaining in detail what those concepts are. Let's see what it says. Can you go ahead and give a detailed explanation for the bullet points under number one? What is Kotlin? Actually explaining in detail what the context, what the concepts in this and that section means. Can, can you go ahead and give a detailed explanation of the bullet points under number one, what is Kotlin? Actually explaining in detail what the concepts in that section mean. Okay, let's see what it says. So, okay. All right, so it says certainly. Let's go into more detail about the bullet points under what is Kotlin to provide a comprehensive understanding of this topic. So, what is Kotlin? Kotlin is a statically typed programming language that runs on the Java Virtual Machine JVM. It was developed by JetBrains, the company behind popular development tools like IntelliJ IDEA. Kotlin is designed to be fully inter, inter, interpretable with Java, making an excellent choice for Android app development and other Java based applications. So, what that interpretability means, Kotlin is fully compatible with Java, meaning you can use existing Java libraries and code within your Kotlin projects. You can also call Kotlin code from Java, making it a smooth transition for developers familiar with Java. So that's awesome. That's exactly what I wanted it to do, to drill down, to give a detailed explanation of the lesson so that, you know, so that you can actually get something out of it. So Kotlin is known for its concise, expressive syntax. It reduces boilerplate code, making your code more readable and maintainable. For example, you can define a data class with just a single line of code. So it gives you an example right there and tells you like the other key features and points and then summarizes it. So that's great. So, you can do that for each and every point that you want and and to get more detail out of your lessons and make sure to be specific. And sometimes if it forgets some things in the past, you can always go back, copy and paste what it said, and then you know, copy and paste what it said here, and then paste it back. Um, in here, or you could say, can you do blah 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 based on what you you said previously here, and then you paste what was said previously, and then you know it will go ahead and do what you want it to do, because it doesn't have unlimited memory. And if it does start to forget like some of the things it said before that was in the lesson, you can always remind it in a similar nature of what I just did there. But yeah, so this is what I wanted to go over today, where you can get a pretty good, foundation on how to start preparing for the actual exam and using AI, which is pretty cool nowadays that you can be able to tap into this kind of resource. And so I hope you guys learned something and got something out of it. If you like these kind of videos, please subscribe, like this video, comment, do all of that stuff. And as I always like to say, stay coding. This is Jay Coder, and I'm out.